UFC Fight Night, KAPE vs. Horiguchi, just went down, and this is my recap over the entire card. We went 8-4 this week on predictions. Not too bad. We had a couple of fights look like they were going our way, and they did not end up going our way. That's how she goes. Let's get right into it. Starting with the early prelim opener of Shane Collins versus Otari Tanzanilovi. Shane Collins got this one done. He looked good. Tanzalovi would kind of just shell up against the fence, and Collins would just unleash, 4 or 5 punch combination. Most of them were getting blocked, but it was not a good look to just keep backing up and then shelling up against the fence. And Collins got this one done. Towards the end of the fight, Collins was doing very good of stuffing takedowns. And then towards the end of the fight, they just were not coming easily at all to Otari. So Collins got this one done. Bit of a boring decision, but I mean, it is what it is. Up the card, we had Carol Rosa versus Luana Santos. Luana looked good in this fight. This was a very stereotypical grapple-heavy WMMA fight. Boring decision. It is what it is. There were a few times, I want to say in the first round, the first takedown she got, Santos just kind of bulldozed Rosa all the way across the cage into the fence. And it was a pretty violent collision into the fence. And that was probably the most violent thing that happened in this fight. So, like I said, very stereotypical WMMA fight. Santos got this one done. Next up the card, we had Leon Shabazian versus Levon Chokeli. I believe this guy's the older brother to Edmund Shabazian. I believe it's older or younger. They are brothers, but Chokeli got this one done. I mean, this one was over before it started. Shabazian did not want to be in there. He got dumped by a body shot. I want to say it was a left hook, kind of right on the liver. Dumped Shabazian, and then he curled up. Maybe had 1 or 2 more shots, and the fight got called. First round TKO in 23 seconds. Not much to break down on this fight. Chokeli did look decent in the time he was in there. He threw a leg kick. Shabazian did not like that. That's what kind of initiated the combo up against the fence. Chokeli landed. Yeah, it was so a leg kick, a 4-punch combination, and then a 5-punch combination ending in a liver shot. I mean, that's really all there is to say about this fight. 23-second TKO. Next up the card, we had Gaston Bolaños versus Michael Aswell Jr. Ilya Aptoro got this one done. I had Aswell winning the first and third, but the first round was very, very close. So I'm not angry with the decision going Bolaños' way. The second round was clearly Bolaños. First round, I thought went to Aswell, and then third round I thought went to Aswell. Bolaños, he looked huge in there. He did not look like a former bantamweight. He said he was really draining himself to get to 135, and I can see that. I could definitely see why this guy was so frail looking at 135. He had to have been cutting a lot of weight to make that. Aswell did try and make it dirty, but when he tried to make it dirty, Bolaños was just landing big shots. So, that was a tough one for Aswell. He needed to get the finish, or he at least needed to land some shots that could produce a finish to gain Bolaños' respect, and he just wasn't able to do it. He was just kind of landing these pitter-pat shots on the feet. They were good, nice, clean, flush shots, but they just didn't have any pop to them, any power behind them. So Bolaños got this one done by decision. Next up the card. I do not understand this one. All right, we had Alan Nascimento versus Mitch Raposo. Mitch had a very good first and second round. It is closer than it looked, but I felt it was a very clear 1-2 for Raposo. And then round 3, obviously, Nascimento dropped him, got on top, and pretty well controlled him for the rest of the round. But he didn't do much with the control, so it wasn't like it was a 10-8 type of round. I do not understand the split decision whatsoever. I do not understand the second round going to Alan Nascimento. Raposo had more damage. He was landing the better shots on the feet. Like I said, it was very close, 20-20. But Raposo was cutting him up. He was landing the bigger shots. He was popping his head back. He got the win, but it definitely should have been unanimous in my opinion. This was not a split decision performance by Raposo. He did get hurt in the third round. If this was a 5-round fight, he would have lost for sure, but it wasn't. It was a 3-round fight. He won. He did win by split decision. Should have been unanimous in my opinion. Big ups to him though. Got this one done. Next up the card, we had Bia Mesquita versus Melissa Mullins. Like I said, Mullins has good power for a WMMA fighter. I didn't really expect her to land a shot that would hurt Mesquita that quickly. Bia went in there kind of just chin high up in the air, marched right into a big shot that stumbled her. She ended up getting the clinch, and then I don't know if she went for the trip or if Mullins went for the trip, but Mesquita ended up on bottom in with her guard. Mullins was, I want to say, half guard, and then Mesquita swapped over to full guard. She started hunting for a sub almost immediately, trying to work into a better position. She ended up getting an armbar at the end of the first round. 3 minutes into the first round, she ended up, I want to say she was going for like a triangle, and then Mullins stacked her, and Mesquita switched over to a armbar. Ended up getting an armbar. It looked pretty nasty. Mullins tapped. Mesquita kept her. That's how she goes. If it goes to the ground and you're fighting Bia Mesquita, you're getting submitted 9 times out of 10. Big ups to her. She got this one done. Next up the card, we had Andre Lima versus Kevin Borjas on the feature fight of the prelims. I'm going to be honest. I honestly thought this was a layup fight for Andre Lima. Kevin Borjas, I have to apologize. I was not familiar with your game. Borjas looked very, very good in this fight. And I was saying he was not UFC level. I was wrong. It turns out maybe he was just fighting some studs that made him look bad. Um, he was piecing up Lima, landing good shots. Uh, Lima wasn't throwing much of substance. He was throwing the leg kicks, wasn't throwing much to the head. Um, most of these strikes, they're leg kicks. Second round, I mean, it was a very close fight. Don't get me wrong. Um, but Lima did not look like an undefeated fighter in there. He just did not look. It very well could have just been an off night for Lima. Borjas looked good though. He he is a big guy. I am curious if he bumped up to 35, if he would have much success, because he is like a big framed flyweight. But I mean, he is beating undefeated guys at flyweight, so maybe he doesn't want to move up. I think it'd be better for his career, but it's the way she goes. Again, Kevin Borjas with the big upset, plus 450. That is absurd. Got the upset. It's the year of the underdog. That's all there is to it. Next up the card, we had Vinicius Oliveira versus Andre Fili. Fili looked good in the first round. Oliveira, I couldn't tell if he was trying to rope-a-dope, kind of play possum a bit, or if he was truly hurt. Fili checked a couple of low kicks, and then Oliveira was all stumbly on his leg, like he stubbed his toe or something like that. Got like a stinger in his foot, but it was weird. And then Fili was landing some big body kicks, and he landed two of them in succession. And Oliveira really hunched up and like showed his teeth, like he really looked hurt. But then he fought out of it. It was weird. It was almost like he was just trying to draw Fili in so he could just land a big shot. And Fili wasn't playing that. Round two, Fili came out. He was still looking good, but Oliveira really started to turn it up. It was almost like he kind of gave up on the playing possum and just went out there and fought Fili. Made it a bit of a brawl. That's not what Fili wants. He doesn't have the best chin. He really started pressing Fili up against the cage, and then would land nice combinations, and then Fili would kind of circle out, press him up against the other side of the cage, land combinations, Fili would circle out. Finally, towards the end of the round, I want to say 20 seconds left, he pressed Fili up against the cage, landed some big body shots that kind of made Fili curl up, and then landed a big uppercut that kind of dropped Fili. And then with 4 seconds left, fight got called. Oliveira was just swarming on him, but it is kind of one of those things, like almost all of his finishes are getting called right at the last second, I don't think Fili would have. He could have gone out there and done decent in the third round, but I think this was an outcome that was bound to happen. Towards the end of that second round, Fili really was not looking good. He was getting caught with big punches in the combinations, and Oliveira ended up getting this one done. Next up the card, we had Melsik Bogdasarian versus Murtazali Magomedov. Magomedov went out there, got the back very quickly, ended up getting a like a modified twister. So he went out there, got the back, got like a body triangle, and then when Bogdasarian he turned into him, and as he like kind of swam back with this arm, Magomedov put him like a half Nelson arm triangle deal. Started to really twist and stretch, and got a modified twister out of it. That was one of the cooler ways I've ever seen a twister been worked into or gotten. But I mean, really creative stuff. If you really break it down, really creative stuff. Magomedov getting this one done. Early submission though. That's what I said was going to happen. I initially thought he was going to go out there and swing with the guy, but Bogdasarian's a very, very good striker. Trains at a very solid Muay Thai gym. So, the takedown and submission was definitely the smart game plan. And Magomedov went out there and did that. Next up the card, we had Haider Emil versus Christian Rodriguez. C-Rod was landing big shots on the feet. He ended up, so he was landing good punches, and then he'd throw a head kick right after him. He'd follow his punches up with a head kick, and it was almost landing the entire first round. And then, with 3 minutes and probably 35 seconds left, or 3 minutes and 35 seconds into the fight, C-Rod landed a flush head kick that dumped Haider Emil, put him down bad. And then Rodriguez ended up diving on him with a couple of big shots, didn't get it. Emil wrestled back up, and as he was getting up, Rodriguez put him into a nasty guillotine and ended up putting him to sleep. Haider took a nap on the canvas. C-Rod looked good. He looked good in this fight. He's kind of a sleeper featherweight, He's one of those guys that kind of flies under the radar, but he is very skilled. I think he's going to be looking to jump up into the rankings here soon. C-Rod got this one done. A first round submission. Next up the card. Co-main event. We had Ion Cutelaba versus Navajo Sterling. First round, Cutelaba had a deep guillotine. Sterling was about to get his head popped off his shoulders, but he outlasted it. He kept working, kept fighting the hands. Cutelaba it looked like he kind of gassed his arms out going for it, going for the squeeze. Didn't get the sub, and then it went back up to the feet, and Sterling landed some nice shots. He was this fight too. Cutelaba kind of looked like he was trying to rope-a-dope, trying to play a bit of possum, get Sterling to come in, and Sterling wasn't really doing it. And then, second round comes around, stays on the feet for the most part. Sterling's landing some decent shots, and they, I cannot remember who initiated it. I mean, they both were trying to grapple, but it wasn't a ground fight. It was mostly on the feet in the second round, but someone initiated a takedown, and it was a bit of a scramble, and Sterling just kept wrestling up through it, and Cutelaba was sitting up against the fence, and Sterling got up and just started feeding him juicers, just hooks, and Kutalaba pretty much just gave up, just just accepted the fact that he couldn't get his positions, didn't win this fight. I mean, that's basically all that happened. Um, he was sitting there up against the fence, just eating these shots. Not He was covered up, but he wasn't trying to stand up, wasn't trying to fight back, wasn't doing anything. Good stoppage. Navajo Sterling got a TKO in the second round. That's for a while there, it was looking like Sterling wouldn't be a finish guy. He had a lot of finishes on the regional scene. I believe I want to say his Contender Series fight ended in a finish, and then he was just a decision merchant until he fought Bruno Lopez. Got a TKO in that fight, and got a TKO in this fight. Got this one done. Next up the card, the Gyno General got this one done. We had Manel Kape versus Kyoji Horiguchi in the main event. The Gooch looked good. Horiguchi looked very, very good in this fight. First round, both guys were pretty timid, trying to find their range, but Horiguchi was landing good shots. I had him winning the first round, and I had him winning the second round. He was staying on the outside. He was getting hit. I cannot remember if it was the first or second round. First round, Horiguchi was landing big body shots. I want to say it was the first round where Kape kind of landed a nice shot up the middle. I want to say it was a straight right that kind of stumbled Horiguchi very quickly. It wasn't a true knockdown or anything, but it definitely stumbled him. But Horiguchi was landing some nice body kicks. Second round, in between rounds, his coaches were like, all right, no more body kicks. They're a little dangerous. Second round, Horiguchi landed a shot that stumbled Kape bad. It looked like he had Kape hurt. And then he kind of just kept on staying on the outside, hitting him up, point fighting a little bit, being very smart with it. He was going for takedowns, wasn't getting them. And then third round, he continued. He continued to look very good. He was kicking the legs, kicking the body. He was staying on the outside. He was landing his jab. And then they kind of just came to a head right in the middle, and Kape landed a big shot that stumbled Horiguchi. Made him lose movement over his left foot, so it kind of rolled over and he stumbled, and he fell into Kape, and Kape started dumping him, or not dumping him, but dumped him with the big shot. Basically, started feeding him. Big ground and pound juicers, and he came up with an uppercut, much like Dan Henderson versus Fedor, the shot that ended that fight. It was just like that, uppercut right up under the armpit, dumped Horiguchi straight to his forehead. In his defense, he did pop up very quickly afterwards. He was protesting, but Kape got this one done. He just has nasty power for a flyweight, and he is going to be dangerous to whoever he fights next, whether it be Van or Pantoja. I do think Josh Van beats Pantoja in a rematch, so he's probably going to be fighting Josh Van. He called for the title. He says he's all right with sitting out. But yeah, Kape got this one done. I do like Kape. I picked Horiguchi to win. I wanted Horiguchi to win, but I'm not angry that Kape won. I think if he wins, I would like to see him be a little more active, or if he wins the title, I would like to see him be a little more active. But that is kind of how she goes. Sometimes, these guys who don't live in America can stretch their money a lot further, and they don't need to fight as often. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I said, we went 8-4 this week. Not the best, not the worst. Manel Cap getting it done in the main event. That'll be the video. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Wheezy MMA. I'm Wheezy, and I'm out. Have a good one.